What up, everybody? It's the Build Different podcast. Ricky and Sean here with you again. Not donning my hat today because I told Sean I want people to see, a few people that we have subscribed and people that check us on a regular basis. I do have a top of my head. Anybody that goes back in time, they can see I have a top of my head. You know what I mean? I like wearing my hats, and then I also, it looks funny on camera, my hair normally, but today's actually a decent day, so I just Sean knows I have hair, but other people out there might not. I might think I'm bald or have something wrong with my head, you know what I mean? Anyhow, topic today, stealth, you know what I mean? I guess my hair was a little bit in stealth for the last, how many episodes we did, but
Like 80,
like my
80
hair,
episodes.
yeah, like my hair will already reveal ourselves soon, so I want to talk a little bit about stealth mode, kind of branching off the last podcast episode we had where we were talking about changing, making a little bit of a change in direction in where we're going to be going with the podcast, the content, and so forth. So, I want to talk a little bit about stealth, what it is, why we've been doing it, my personal experience with being stealthy. So, I guess we kind of start from the top, right, Sean?
Yeah, no, I mean, first I'd say let's start with kind of explaining, we've mentioned stealth, we mentioned it in our last episode, we mentioned it probably in the past a little bit, but like, do you want to explain exactly what we mean by stealth mode, at least in the context that we've used it?
Yeah, stealth mode is like, I mean, just like what it sounds like, an airplane, like a B-52, B-52 bomber or whatever, like the old SR-72 Blackbird stealthy. You're trying to fly under the radar. You're trying not competition or other technology in our instance or in a lot of instances technology companies like to see what you're doing. It's a lot of times companies will do it just to protect themselves because maybe they have something new, maybe they have a new way of doing something, and they don't want somebody else to catch on and either do it faster, do it maybe even better. That's kind of the surface level description of it. I know we could go into more depth with it.
Yeah, and I mean, I completely agree with what Ricky said, and yeah, it's just kind of, it's not sharing everything, it's kind of remaining a little bit low key with things. Like Ricky said, a lot of companies do it, especially in tech, because nowadays it's like whoever has the newest tech, it's like if the next person gets it, then, you're kind of like, you're just trying to stay ahead of your competitors always.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
so, but yeah, I mean, we've been in stealth mode for majority of this podcast. We've talked about, the fact that we have a technology. I think we've probably mentioned that it's a wearable technology. Um, but, we really haven't talked too much about uh, the form factor, the use cases. I mean, we talked a little bit about the use cases, but haven't gone super in depth with everything. And the reason for that was, kind of keeping it stealthy. So, Ricky, in the context of like our company, what was our reasoning for keeping what we were doing kind of in stealth mode for so long?
um, Number one for me is always like IP. Like I always wanted to get some, I wanted to secure our intellectual property. So obviously everybody kind of knows, and people going back in time watching these videos that come to this episode. We created something new, a variation of technology that, everything's kind of based on previous technology, but ours, my goal was always to be the first company to do it, to be the pioneers, to, build essentially a moat, like a IP moat where, you know, yeah, somebody do it potentially, but, there's intellectual property, there's patents, there's, um, you know, some legal documents in place to kind of protect the company. So, that was kind of my one thing, my biggest thing, the number one thing that I wanted to do was get some patents across the line. And thank God, gotten a couple across the line and some more coming out. And you've seen what I did last time, and you took part in it. We've got a lot more a lot more to file in the future. So we're gonna, I believe, have a huge portfolio of IP. Um, the other thing too, I always wanted to do, and this was build anticipation as well. So part of being stealthy for us was, I've always wanted to do kind of that, and hopefully it works out this way. I've always wanted to do like a reveal, like a kind of like a build up to revealing what we're doing, and do it kind of in a way that hypes up what we're doing and builds anticipation for what we're going to be bringing to the market. Um, we also too we wanted to get the technology to a certain place as well before we revealed it. So eventually get it to a place where we're comfortable showing it and people aren't going to be, questioning it. Um,
Says you need to refresh that you stopped recording. Oh.
I'm back. So yeah, a little snafu there, but what I was saying is that we needed to get the technology to a place where we were comfortable showing it. You don't you've seen it before where people show something half-ass and you're like, what the hell is that? And then first impressions are everything. You know what I mean? If you uh you give people a first impression of something that they don't understand or it doesn't make sense to them or it looks like crap, you may be out of the ball game before you even get on the court. So that was another facet of it, and it's just a strategic move. You know what I mean? One of the things that always happens, well, not always happens, but when we're talking to people about it, is like they mention other companies that could do something similar or maybe, but the good thing about that is like the IP has made me feel a little bit more secure about doing this, about showcasing it and talking about it, and I'm getting more comfortable. I was telling you, and you kind of know, when you first met me, I was very hesitant to tell anybody. I,
Yeah.
um, I remember working with some of my close friends, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm working on something. I have this idea. I think I'm gonna start a business around it." And I remember one of my friends, D, asking me, "Oh, so what is it?" I was like, "I can't tell you. I'd have to kill you." Like literally, the guy would never make it, or he would never tell anybody to make it or reach out. But me, I was very. That's just me in life in general. I'm very. I don't share a lot. I'm very. You know. I'm. Very protective of things. I'm very private. And that's kind of how I've done with this company, which is a good thing, I believe. You know what I mean? But got to get out of my shell a little bit and get used to like showing this and eventually rolling it out where people, we're talking about it all the time and out in public speaking about it, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean one thing I liked that you mentioned there was there's more than one reason to be in stealth mode, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, protecting the IP is a big reason. And I mean we did that to some extent, but we also, we had patents, we have a trademark, we have things going on that protect us from that end, but the other part of it is there's a marketing perspective to it. Building up anticipation, doing a big reveal. Those are all things that we kind of want to do and have planned to do, where we want, to build anticipation for what we're bringing to the market. And then um, the last part of it that I thought you mentioned, or that you mentioned as well, that I thought was cool, was like not wanting to do anything half-assed, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
you you want the user to like to be exposed to ultimately like a near final version of what they're going to see when it comes out to market. You don't want to like prototypes are cool, and I mean we've had prototypes, we've had prototypes of the hardware, we've had prototypes of the software,
Hmm.
um, and they work, and seeing everything work is really a cool thing as well. But seeing it, but showing it too much when it's still not complete can give people a feeling of, oh, I don't like what this looks like, and then they don't pay attention anymore. It's like
Yeah.
you don't want to like alienate people basically on a product that isn't ever really going to get to market anyways because it's not the final version. So it's kind of a balancing act there of,
Hmm.
those things. But then also you do want to eventually get it out there so you can get, you know, customers, get like build up some, like some followers and things like that. So yeah, that kind of leads into, the next phase, which is, obviously we're saying we're coming out of stealth mode. So like what kind of from your end prompted kind of feeling more comfortable and like wanting to kind of really start sharing more and releasing more.
I think one of the things too was I just started like studying other companies that, kind of did things in a stealthy way and then eventually revealed their product. I was looking at Google, Tesla even before Elon got involved. There was a couple of Square was another company. So I just started studying like other companies and what they did and why they did it, how they did it, the reasoning behind them doing it. And then I think too, we're at that phase now where, you know, what we have is we can showcase it in a way where people will understand it. Um, we've learned a lot about, because one of the things you can show things, but you also have to be able to speak to it. You know what I mean? You're gonna get a lot of questions from people about the technology, how it works. You're going to get a lot of questions about the cost. You're going to get a lot of questions about, lifespan. You're going to get, all of these things we kind of had to figure out. Like you start off with that first prototype and it's a prototype. You don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know, specifics about it, waterproofing, like IP rating, things like that. You just don't know everything. So you kind of don't want to go in and sound naive about your technology either. So that was the thing. It was like I really felt like, and you can attest to this as well. We had to learn. You know what I mean? We had to learn. Neither of us are technologists. We had to bring in some great technology people to help us learn, to help us grow. And thank God for Yao and Georgia Tech. Ryan that recently came in, Patrick. Matthew has had experience with technology. Dan, is always on the forefront of technology, doing, looking at new companies and things like that. And I just started, researching on my own, reading books and just looking at other companies and things like that. But well, what I was gonna say is that, we've learned a lot, and one of the coolest things too was I was thinking about this the other day was going into I remember my first time going into Georgia Tech and talking to Yao about what we're building, and it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, oh, that sounds good. It was kind of the just you're saying yes to everything, like, oh, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, battery, you're gonna put that battery in? Oh, that should work. I was just like, I didn't know shit, so I was just like, just going with the flow. Okay, remember I wrote a statement of work. I think I showed it to you, and I'm like, I should have done this right. I should have done that. I should have made sure of this. And thank God for Roy and at that time Mia because they helped on the legal side make sure that the agreements, everything. So our prototype functioned, but there was a lot of things I needed to learn to make the most out of interactions with somebody like Dr. Yao, Georgia Tech. But the last time I went up there, man, and you didn't go on this trip, but when I got to meet Dr. John Rogers, and that was back in June, I was in there holding my own with Yao, and I was showing him like our current board, and I'm like, yeah, and it's this is, and he's asking questions. I'm able to kind of go back, and it was just a very different interaction than what I had when I first walked in there. So it's like I was like, you know, just recently I thought about that. I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Like going back and reflecting on my first time there versus now, and every we're just gonna keep learning and growing, but that was another reason, major reason why I didn't want to really, why I was super in stealth because I want to be able to speak to this. I want to be, we're experts at this. We're the subject matter experts of our own technology. And if we're not, we go into a room and we're not, we'll never be a Yao. I mean, we'll probably never be a Ryan. Any of these high level people that actually, this was their trade or what they went to school for. They got their degree in it. You know what I mean? They've been doing it for years. But, we should be subject matter experts on technology and specifically our technology and understand how it functions and different components and things like that. And I think that was one of the major reasons. Now I'm in a place where I feel a lot more comfortable, where I can speak to it. I know how it works. I know how it functions. I know about the different components, what they do. And especially while we're building out this next version of our technology, it's going to be even cooler to kind of sit down and look at every different piece of it and what it does and how it works and how everything kind of comes together. And then too, it's just, I think we're in that place now where this next version is going to be the one that we'll put out. And with that being said, which is closer than we've ever been, closer to getting bringing capital in to really scale things out. And so with scaling that out, you got to get the word, scaling the product out, and getting ready to commercialize. You got to start getting the word out. You know what I mean? So I think those are the
Yeah,
kind of
no,
the three major ones.
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, it's been a journey, getting here, and I like you said, we both learned a lot. I mean, when I came into the company, I didn't know anything about like technology from a hardware perspective.
Hmm.
I have technology. I use technology every
Yeah.
day, but doesn't mean I know how it works. So, now and there was times where like, oh, someone would have, like you were saying, oh, this battery, yeah, sure, that sounds good, or oh, we got this, oh yeah, cool, and like now it's like when we're doing component selection, it's like, oh, well, what is the voltage of this, or what is like asking those kinds of questions. I mean, those
Hmm.
questions are important, but
Yeah.
if you don't know that you need to ask them, then you're not going to ask. But like that's the difference between, you or I 4 years ago, between you like versus now. I mean, now we know, hey, make sure that this component is doing what we want it to do, and make sure it's not interfering with the other components, make sure that everything has synergy, everything, is able to work together, and there's just, as opposed to like just setting out like a requirement of,
Yeah.
hey, we want it to do this, we want it to do that. It's like, no, we want, like, yes, we're still doing that, but at the same time, you're also taking it a step further and saying, make sure that this doesn't impact that, make sure that, this design works and that it,
Yeah.
meets. So,
It's
um,
it's it's really cool. Like I'm thinking about everything. Listen to everything you're saying. I'm thinking about it too. It's like if you think about it too, like we can look at and you may be better at this part of it than I am. The data. Look at that data and realize that a component probably isn't matching the need that we have. You know what I mean? You can look at almost like the raw data or look at graphs of data and say, man, that accelerometer, that's just not going to work, or that gyroscope is not. You know what I mean? There's really cool elements of what we've learned over the past 2 years, year that um, we can look at things at a super granular level and kind of understand what's going on and realize, man, like this part of the device just isn't going to cut it and it's not going to work for us. And we actually need something that's going to do uh, this amount of, pull this amount of G's or, get this many degrees of information. You know what I mean? I think that's really cool to think about as well because now thinking about some of the things that we want to make changes with, it's like we can, in the past we wouldn't have been able to look at that and know what the hell we're looking at. Remember when we had like our app was super raw and we were like, well, the lines look cool and everything. I could see, you'd have to look at the X, Y, Z axis and kind of formulate like on paper, like what's actually happening. And now you can kind of just look at it. Okay, I see what's going on.
and not only that too, but like, um, Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? I don't want to lose it. Um, the like I feel like at this point now we're also thinking like about ways to future proof the design. So it's like it's not only like when we first started it was like okay, we wanted to do so and so for this one use case, you know.
Hmm.
Even though you've always had visions of being in multiple industries and, you know, expanding across the other industries, but it was never part of the thought process of, hey, yeah, let's design this for the hardest scenario, or like let's design it for this one thing, and then, you know, if we need to go back and change it later. Now we're kind of like designing a board or designing a, you know, product isn't easy. Let's try to design it to make it as uh you know, as as cross platform as possible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you know, whether that means adding different sensors or, you know, maybe like you said, this one sensor, oh, yeah, this sensor could work for one thing, but it won't work for everything. Maybe we need to go with a different sensor that has different capabilities, you know, that kind of thing. So it's like not only are we, you know, more selective in terms of what we're putting on the board, but it's like we're also just thinking more forward about everything as well, like planning for not only this generation but the next generation and the following generation. You know, it's like
Hmm.
it's it's a lot more thought out as opposed like before it was thought out in terms of the idea, but now it's thought out in terms of the execution as well.
Yeah, and I think with that too, it's like, you know, I think that the business model of the company and like the what type of company we are, that's evolved as well. Because it's like, you know, we have hardware, we have software, we have lots of data. Um, and first we're like, yeah, we're just gonna, man, these devices are really cool and it can work for so many different things. Let's just sell these devices. You know, we're very, we're very limited in our thinking that time. But once you got to know more about the potential of the technology and, you know, you understood the technology more and what it could do, and then you related it to software and the data that we were receiving back from all of the various components, the various sensors. Then you were like, man, this company could be this, and man, the valuation of this company when you compare it to other similar companies, like, damn, this thing could be really, really big if we do this right and we play our hand right and build this right. You know what I mean? I think that's also evolved over time as well. And that, you know, it's a good thing you remain in stealth because you just say, for instance, we went all in and showed something that wasn't finished. We showed we had a business model that really wasn't befitting of what we wanted to do later on, and like I always say, it's like the Elon Musk's Mars, you know what I mean? He's like, start with, I believe it's PayPal, Tesla, Boring, uh, all of these various little companies. But hey, my goal is Mars at the end of the day. All these little things are coming to get to Mars. For us to get to our Mars, like it took us learning, educating ourselves, learning from people, and then remaining stealthy and remaining kind of hidden until we were ready to kind of come out and you're kind of ready, a little bit ready to defend yourself. I'd say, you know what I mean. It's kind of like you don't want to. You want to train, you know what I mean? It's combat sports. You want to train, you want to work on your defense, and you want to, have your offense ready when you need it. If you don't do those things, you're not just going to walk out in the ring and take on a big opponent. You know what I mean? And that's what can happen if you're not careful. I think we've learned, we've grown, still got a lot to learn, still got a lot of growing to do. But yeah, that's part of why we remain stealthy.
Yeah, so, you know, pivoting back to stealth here, what is the thing that you're most excited to kind of show moving forward as we kind of transition from, you know, stealth mode where we were before to being a little bit more transparent with viewers and things like that?
I mean everything. Like I think number one, the hardware, because that's going to probably be people's first interaction with us is the hardware. I think showing that, but showing people, you know, you know how I'm always big picture with everything. I really want people to get out of thinking that they only can use a wristwatch, that they can only use a ring, that they can, all these things that they're used to that just seems like they seem like peripherals, you know what I mean? And I want them to experience something new, something that is natural, something that just really feels like nothing, but it's gathering the most data that they've ever, captured about themselves. But so going back to the hardware, I just want them to feel that this new user experience. I want people to fall in love with technology, and I want people to view technology as being cool and being, through what we build, being cool and being just this new experience that feels like an extension of themselves rather than just another device and just a similar device to what's out there. I think that's number one. I think two is seeing their information and seeing this new abundance of information about themselves, and learning about themselves in ways and learning things about themselves they never knew, you know what I mean, and being able to assess themselves. And then three, I think, like we always say, just breaking boundaries and being able to use the technology and first they got to envision themselves using technology in a way that and understanding how the technology works and looking at the feedback that's received and taking that and saying, hey, I want to be as good as Sean in disc golf. Let me put this technology on and learn how my body moves, why things work a certain way, my health, my movement, and if Sean, I can relate my movements to Sean's. Hey, I can be just as good as Sean, or maybe even beat him. Things like that. I think that's what I'm looking forward to. But I don't know. I've looked at a lot of companies over the years. I'm like always looking at CES and all these different CNET and Gadget, all these different companies that showcase new technologies. And anytime anything kind of new comes out, the I don't think I showed it to you. There's a tri-folding phone. My phone is kind of it's bifolding. Um, there's one that has three screens now, and it's by Huawei out in China. And Samsung has a patent for it as well, but they just never. They're sticking with this. You know what I mean? They got kind of use. Whenever as you know now, which is kind of cool. Anytime you add a new element, new product line, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So they've kind of shied away from it. But anyhow, I say all that to say that came out and people were like, wow, I mean, this is something different. This is really cool. And then people start thinking of use cases. I'd be on a plane, I'll be on a train, I can use this for marketing presentations, whatever. Um, those are the things I've always loved. And I think being able to do that from something that we put our heart and soul into, blood, sweat, and tears in, and people have that same response to when we show off what we have. That's going to be a really cool feeling.
Yeah. No, I mean that's awesome. I definitely agree. I think for me, I would probably say I'm most excited for um I mean obviously I'm excited for people to see the hardware. That's obviously like the first step. But to me it's like the hardware, I like our hardware, I think it's cool, but I think seeing people's reactions to the data that
Yeah.
they're going to
Hmm.
be able to get, and like not only how much data, but just the fact that it's data that none of the other, wearable technology companies are offering because they can't get it. Like that's the thing is like, whenever someone, I mean, we get the question all the time of, oh, how are you different from this company or that company and whatever. And it's like, there's a lot of ways that we can answer that question, but the best way to answer that question is there's so many different data points that we can get because of our hardware
Hmm.
and because of its flex, like its like ability to be versatile,
Yeah.
that allows us to just do so much more, and that I think is what people are going to eventually see that's going to be like, wow, like I know, like with all this new information, it's like I can do these different things that I could never do with this product or that product or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I'm always looking at things from and you probably do the same, but not as much as I do. You probably look at the next 5 years. You know what I mean? I'm like thinking like 20, 25 years and what this would look like, and I'm. It's crazy on the weekend. I know we always talk on Monday about, oh, what'd you do this weekend? A lot of my weekend is like really like visualizing the future, like going in and I'll mess around with Claude and ask questions, like not sharing any of our proprietary, but ask questions about and just kind of forecast where this can go and how big it can be and how beneficial the benefits that we can provide people. And I don't know, the last patent we worked on like had a lot of these future thoughts in it, but man, like as this thing grows, as it gets bigger, as more people use it, how beneficial it's going to be for people, and then like just as it grows, like how how ridiculous it's going to be to interact with the technology and the data, and you know um the sky's the limit for it and what it can do and what it can become and how it can help people, I believe, because what we've kind of the groundwork we've kind of laid out, and the way everything scales, man, it's like this has the potential to be really huge, and really change people's lives and just help, you know, on so many levels. So that's what I'm really excited about. I'm excited about the now and the next 5, next 10, but like as this thing grows and gets even bigger, like the big picture that I have for it, like I said, my version of like Mars for this technology is like, man, um, it's gonna be pretty insane.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Um, but yeah, no, just you know, I guess closing it out, any other comments you wanted to make about stealth mode, being in stealth mode, any advice for people who, are trying to figure out when the appropriate time to get out of stealth mode is, or you know, um, what that process looks like.
No, I'd say what I said at the beginning of this is like get yourself a good IP attorney, like we have Roy. Shout out to Roy. Um, if you have something new, if you have something that you think is first do kind of do the groundwork too. Just type in, go to the USPTO.gov website and search and see if there's anything similar to what you have, and if not, then get that attorney, and if you got the uh, you have the framework of what you want to do. Do the provisional, get it done, and then work on the details of non-provisional and really fill it out as best you can. But yeah, protect yourself, number one. Not everybody has to be stealthy either. That's the other side of it too. It's like you have something that's very similar to what's out there, but it's an improvement on things. Just get it out there. But yeah, I mean, just number one, protect yourself. You don't always have to be as cautious as I am, but it does help. And yeah, I mean, just excited, and I'm excited to start peeking our heads out of the peeking our heads out, and starting to climb out of the bunker that we've been in and start showing this off, and explaining to people what we've been working on. And yeah, shoot, even my family hasn't really even seen it, to be honest. I mean, very few people have seen what we've been doing or understand what we've been doing. So it's gonna be exciting to really show everybody, friends, a couple friends know, but yeah, it's gonna be really exciting to show it. And I think do evolving our content around that. We're gonna be getting together here in what, a couple of weeks. I think that'd be kind of maybe our first day in the life type of content where we're showing us. We may not show the technology or screens or anything, but we'll show us having fun, and maybe I don't know. We'll see how it works out, but maybe that's our first little peeking our head out from the cave, from the bunker, showcasing what we've been working on. So exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, that may be our first, or I guess maybe not our first, but me and your first uh live podcast recording.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you and I have. I've done some with the fighters and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be fun. Well, it's not really live, but it's like
Or well, yeah, in person, I guess.
in person. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
outside of the confines of our offices. So yeah,
but um, but
yeah,
yeah, you want to close it out?
yeah. And as always, thank everybody for tuning in. Trying to grow this audience. I know leaving stealth, that's when we're really gonna get more people into this community. But we want a community of like-minded people, technologists, people that want to be the best version of themselves, people that want to break barriers, transcend human limits. Come join the Extropian movement, and thank you guys. Either if you're watching now or in the future, we appreciate your viewership. Thank you guys.